This Alex Phillips guy is like a comedian. I think you probably won't be far off with Bruce Forsyth in this guy. The fact that he just went and writ off all possible avenues of explanation or possibilities or even ideas about what happened or why it happened. He doesn't even seem to want to explore any hypothesis or basis or motive, basically. He refuses that there could be even a motive, right? And then he goes on to say, about people, basically this program writes off any intellect, intelligence, or caliber of intuition or thinking. It's basically literally like a superficial surface program. And then afterwards, this guy then at the end of it, he literally complains and writes off that the CPS aren't fit for purpose, and there's a failing criminal justice system. He blames the courts. He blames the courts, the CPS, the criminal justice system, when you don't even get to court or get prosecuted unless it's the police who can even think of where criminals might be, or how they did something, or even what their motive was, that there might even be a crime and it wasn't a coincidence. He blames the system, and he does end up blaming the police, but he's a product. He is the model on the stage. Here's one I made earlier, Blue Peter, right? He is the model. He just writes off the entire system, but yeah, he's a product of it. This Alex Phillips guy is so joke that it's unbelievable. Fact, the police aren't solving very good percentages of complex or serious crimes, and they haven't got the capacity. He's actually blaming the CPS and the system for that, right? I blame the police, the intelligence and intellect of the police. The police do catch murderers and people like that, but usually because they're not that clever, right? The police might say, oh, there's loads of mastermind criminals and we catch very clever people or very clever men or women or very, but they don't. That's the thing. They think they're catching clever criminals, but they actually catch the stupid ones. They're actually not the ones they catch that they think, oh, this was a very clever criminal, we caught him. No, he actually wasn't clever. That's the problem, right? I mean, Phillips is so joke. The police are now manufactured, designed, made, and set up to catch easy people that literally jump. They're jumping at them. Never mind a fishing net, casting a fishing net and catching fish. The police have actually set up police entrapment sites on roads with illegal road signs that Alex Phillips probably won't even admit that exist, but I know they exist because I investigated them and proved it, right? And that's the police who coordinated that with the local council authorities. Still won't admit it. They won't admit their crimes. They're breaking the law. They set up an entire country and road system to make profit and money out of doped up stupid people who haven't got the full awareness when they're just innocently going about life. Let's turn the majority of drivers in the public into criminals, and people who go and park into the bank machine, let's find them as well, right? The police don't only design the equipment and then they've got their own specialist people and units who specialise in that, like, Teletraffic UK, Frank and Paul Garrett, right? They actually even design the traps to trap these normal citizens going about their business so they can catch a few out and rack up the offences and crimes, right? Just like the council design the dodgy parking signs which read the opposite way around in one place and then a different order of wording in another place, and people get confused because they're doped up on food, whatever, right? It's disgusting. And then now they're saying that the majority of crime that we're ended up with now, even though crime's not gone down, it's gone up. And we said, in the 16 and 1700s, 17 and 1800s, when they built the urban areas and the industrial expansion, the crime went up. And they're even talking about it in Parliament, saying, crime's gone up through the roof. We'll we'll just have to take a hit. We can get more police. We can get more fines. Rather than sharing out the wealth, the proceeds of the profits from that industrial boom, they kept it all for themselves, and there's more people forced into crime and poverty. The whole way through, the masterminds, the real criminals, are the ones who design the laws, set all their own loopholes, orchestrated the factories, orchestrated the whole system. They're the masterminds, the one who designed the legislation, the systems, and the law to keep them out of petty crime, because they don't need to rob people, because they set up the law so that they're effectively robbing from people. Illegal. It's legalised crime, daylight robbery. The problem with Phillips is that the problem with most police is this, right? Their job is a book. The book says, if you don't follow this rule book, then you're a criminal. And then whenever the rule book changes, that's what defines what a criminal is. Instead, if Phillips defined what a criminal is as taking advantage out of other people, misleading other people, tricking other people, regardless of what the law says, a moral compass, doing better for mankind, not actually making people into criminals when they're just trying to get about their normal daily life. That's a problem with Phillips. And another thing, right? Phillips is meant to be working in legislation and law. Police are the ones who are meant to know the legislation and law, right? They're the first level, right? And then you've got lawyers who are meant to be experts and professionals in law, because they use it in court and they can make an argument against or around legislation, right? The police aren't there to make an argument around the legislation. They're there to just use it to do their job, or to prove someone did or didn't do something. The lawyers are the ones who can argue and give counsel around the law, and even guide the police, if they have to take advice. And then you've got the judges who make legal orders. But half of the magistrates don't even really know the law properly. They haven't even got any legal qualifications, right? And then in the magistrates' court, in the Crown Court, you've got a jury, who can decide whatever they want, effectively. And they're not necessarily legal experts. They only go by what evidence is given by the barristers when persuasive argument. And then you've got these high judges. If this guy, right, Alex Phillips, if you've spent any amount of time as a detective, right, if you actually had any intelligence at all, why haven't they worked out that, just a minute, this legislation is not quite right, doesn't seem to add up, it's not very compatible, what's Tony Blair done here? Just a minute, this is a judge's oath, well, you can't do any favours for anyone. So, why did Tony Blair introduce this system when we persuade criminals to confess, and in exchange for reduced sentences and so forth? Because effectively they were rubbish at getting evidence, rubbish at catching criminals, so that they had to persuade, oh no, we'll have to break that age-old foundational model of English constitution, which says that, you can't act in respect of persons' conscience, in legal proceedings, and by the evidence gathered or obtained, and the law. So, we're so crap at catching criminals, we're so rubbish at it, the proper intelligent ones, that what we'll do is the ones that we do catch, we'll try and, to get more convictions, because we're so crap at getting convictions. We'll get Tony Blair to try and persuade them to self-confess, and then we'll actually eventually get some, we'll get some criminals then, right? After they've already removed the juries from the magistrates' court level, so, they've got these idiots, these buffoons, these retards, magistrates who aren't legally trained and don't really know the law, particularly when it comes to rights and so forth. The amount of convictions they're getting through magistrates' courts without a jury, or non-legally trained magistrates, that's probably why the prisons are full at the moment. People probably you know, and then when you do get a jury at Crown Court level, you know, everyone's worried and scared about the sentences being put up. The whole thing's been perverted basically because the police are so crap. And the thing is that they've got a monopoly now on crime. No one else is responsible or funded for crime. No one's responsible for crime except the police, right? Now he's blaming a failed justice system, a failed CPS, a failed court system, you know, the roof's leaking, right? Yet, well, you know, no one can do all about it. At least before the Met Police was formed, people could do something themselves. You know, if someone thought, you know, I can do a better job than the police, then they could do. Now the police don't even know how the Public Meeting Act operates. They won't even enforce that act. Oh, it's only for council meetings. No, it's not for council meetings. It's for everyone in England. It's called the Public Meeting Act. It's for the public. The public. So it doesn't say the Police Meeting Act, the Council Meeting Act. It's called the public. Who are the public? That's us. A lawful meeting of the public. There's nothing special about that. It's not Councillor Johnson or the chairman of the board or, you know, some, you know, numpty companies, you know, investor meeting. A lawful, within the law, not breaking the law, meeting of the public. That's a joining, a coming together, a conference between public, which is within the law, right? So why aren't the police enforcing it on the platforms? Why aren't they enforcing it? You know, 3,500 crimes the police bothered to go do from Facebook last year, right? But none of them have administrators or moderators illegally removing people from participating or giving evidence online in lawful meetings of the public, which didn't even break any law or break a group rule. Yet admins and moderators are not responsible enough to chair groups. You know, I'm arguing with South Wales Police. She put the showing up on me. She put the phone down on me. I was like, just a minute. No, they're public meeting acts for official meetings. Official meeting, an official meeting. That means that you're really having one. You know, no. Where does it say in the act the word official? None. No word official. A lawful meeting of the public. What's official about it? Oh, it's a group who officially come together because it says there are 450 members. So officially there are 450 members. Officially they're talking about opposing Rochdale Council Greenbelt land. How more official do you want? It's called Rochdale Council Save the Greenbelt. It's named so. Here's the group rules, and here's the 554 members subscribe to that cause. How more official do you want to be? You know, there's no will in the police. They've got a monopoly and they just do what they want now, and we're paying for it. That's the thing. Where are they getting the helicopter fuel from? Where are they getting the police cars from? Where are they getting the equipment from? Who's paying the electricity for the police station? You know, and I don't know why he's talking about the relationship between the Crown Prosecution Service. He couldn't be further up the back end. The police used to hire their own barristers and lawyers and instruct them. You know, the Crown Prosecution Service know every single thing. The Crown Prosecution Service knew absolutely every single thing that I'd ever reported to the police in every county of England. You know, every single thing that, and they got a full complete like fucking data list on every single thing that I've ever phoned into the police, done, said, everywhere, you know, from North Wales to South Wales to, you know, Scotland. They've got a full, you know, they know everything between the police and the CPS. So I don't know why he's saying you know, this and that about, you know, the relationship between the CPS and the police. And then you've got Crown prosecutors, you know, brag, you know, well, you know, I'm arguing about criminal damage, and then there's Crown prosecutors in Leeds, in 2019, young whippersnappers. Oh, I'm a Crown prosecutor. Oh, I must no, because I've been there for 2 years. Going on about how some brilliant prosecution case. Oh, well, we prosecuted the legendary prosecution case of someone scribbling crayons in Cornwall on the pavement. We prosecuted them for criminal damage. It's a legendary case. Well, it must be legendary, because according to the Town and Country Planning Act, anything on the surface of anywhere is not to be incorporated into the fabric of the building. And as far as I know, since Romans were cobbling roads, it's construction, it's a building, it's building work. So I don't know how they got that one. It's the CPS, proud of their famous landmark case that is always using citations of the criminal damage case for crayon in the road in fucking Penzance or on the pavement, right, or whatever, when it's clearly not, since 2007 at least, it's not to be incorporated into the fabric. It's not regarded as incorporated into the fabric of the building, even if it isn't political, even if it's not political. And I think where the caliber of these guys really breaks away is with that Madeleine McCann. They're meant to have some inclination, although the purpose of witness protection is so no one can find out the new identities of people or where they are. That's the point, not even the police. So, they know that there's a level of operating which is beyond their trained and financed capacity. They're not meant to be able to find out where these witness protection people are. That's the point. So, they're working within constraints that have been constructed purposefully to keep them within those constraints when it comes to witness protection and so forth. Yet, there clearly there are people who set these parameters and boundaries, and, it's, the police need to start thinking outside of that. The fact that there's no motive, I can give you, anarchy. What's the motive of lobbying to get legislation put through that keeps people under control, keeps them paying money, keeps certain people rich and other people poor? What's the motive of that? If not to control them and keep power, and people who control people and keep power want to keep it, or else they get angry and annoyed, right? The problem is that now the police have got all these honest protesters who are using political rights that exist and protect these persons from making legitimate, honest, advertised and evidence-laid opposition to the government and how the country's being run, and they go do an action to make a point. The design of it is to make a point and get a reaction, hopefully in their favour. And they go and do it, and then they just go sit there, and then the police just go, another easy catch. They might as well be sat, driving a car down the, dual carriageway, at 50 mile an hour. It's more easy catch. And they're actually prosecuting these citizens who are actually protected by rights because they don't even know the law properly or privileges properly, the police or the protesters, because they're being misled effectively by the lawyers, right? And in more easy catch. I mean, how can what Mark Rowley has got all these protesters who are just there? They just stood there, sat there or waiting. They did not even like it's it's almost like, you might as well dress up as a fish, and sit on a plate outside the police station, say lunch, You know, it's like, get a giant plate outside Scotland Yard, right, with Extinction Rebellion, and just like write lunch on you, and it's outside fucking New Scotland Yard in a giant plate. That'd be a protest for Extinction Rebellion. Lunch is served, This is the thing. Yet the real terrorists who do things for a reaction to get their way, which is what Extinction Rebellion and Just Stop Oil are doing. They're doing an incident to get a reaction in, to get their way and to promote it, but they want people to know who they are. They want people to know what they want and who they are, right? Now, the real terrorists, they've got what they want because they're all absolutely loaded. They've got billions, trillions, millions. They got flying helicopters, rocket ships, and to protect that, to stop people taking it away from them, if these civilian protesters who let the police know who they are and what they want, and then just sit there like, lunch is fucking served, come and arrest me, right? They are sacrificing themselves, right, to try and get what they want, honestly. Yet the Met Police Chief is, wanting to try and stop them or arrest them because it's, giving him a tough time. Yet the real terrorists who are getting their own way and don't want it taken away from them and are prepared to actually kill for it, and you got a hell of a lot of money at stake, power, the whole world at stake. They definitely are doing incidents to make a point. The only problem is that they don't want to be caught because they're not like Extinction Rebellion and Just Stop Oil, or just sit there to get prosecuted. They don't want to get caught, just like they don't want to give their money back to everyone. They don't want to have equal status in society and so forth. But the problem is now is that you've got all these tech giants like this Mike Lynch, right? He's involved. This is where the motive comes in. He's been accused of fraud, right? Which is big corporate monies who have got loads of corporate entities who are controlling tech. They're designing and making tech on a big level. And some of that tech is likely being used, people like Tony Blair, World Economic Forum, all these groups are contributing to all these global agendas and so forth, because they're the ones who make all the big tech and design all the big tech, but yet they're being accused for fraud and so forth. They've probably got links to many of these people. And then they go on trial in America and get acquitted by a jury. And then, one of them mysteriously is in a motor incident, which is not difficult to set up because, there are loads of motor incidents set up. And now you can even have a guy going down the motorway at over 100 miles an hour and claiming, based on his own statement, that he couldn't stop. Yet there's no evidence to prove that, except his own statement. You can't even get any evidence from the vehicle. There's no evidence that proves the vehicle couldn't stop at the end of the day. If he had balls of steel, he could just bluff it and say that, go for a joyride and say that he couldn't stop and get a thrill out of it, and the police had to go catch up with him and slam brakes in front of him. Nothing happened. There's actually no evidence or proof at all for it, at all whatsoever, right? So if there's one guy with balls that can do that, I mean, and this is where guys like Mike Lynch come in, because if one of there's only two things possible. One, he was lying, right, and he went for a joyride, or two, his car did malfunction. Now, if his car did malfunction, someone like Mike Lynch with a big tech company might know how that's possible. And if he might give that away, he could uncover other people involved in similar incident setups with that type of technology and covering up that technology as well. And, if the police are starting getting onto them for fraud and corruption, it's starting to get onto the trail, and if those people are at risk of getting found out, or, because these people don't even get accused. No one even suspects these people of crimes or even thinks of a motive for them, right? But when you start getting onto this Mike Lynch guy, there's some element of fraud or untruth in his big finances. It's getting attention towards that, and these people don't want any attention towards that. That's what happened with what do you call him? Jeffrey Epstein. You know, he had attention towards these big, influential circles, groups, people who are in control of the big picture. And what happens when those people get prosecuted is they end up like dead in prison and so forth. This is what witness protection is meant to be designed to do. But I actually now think that the term witness protection has got a cunning alternative twist on it, which is actually, if there are any witnesses who could prove that these other people have motives and exist, these big bad people who Alex Phillips doesn't even suspect or even believe there is a motive. When you start getting into those circles and you start getting legal cases and things happening, then people start mysteriously, things happen, like with Jeffrey Epstein. It's a perfect example. Jeffrey Epstein, Mike Lynch might have ended up not getting acquitted by a jury, and he might have ended up in prison, but he still might have ended up dying in prison like Jeffrey Epstein. Either way, Now, my opinion of it now is this: since now I know what's actually going on. You've got anarchists, you've got people like Tony Blair. Now, to the general public, Tony Blair is, he's decorated. He's been awarded honours. He's Sir Tony Blair. He's a knight commander of the Bath Order of the Realm, right? Now, the problem is with awarded, decorated, honoured people is that they represent the crown. They represent the country. They represent the establishment. And if they look bad or give a bad name to it or disrespect, it's making that establishment and system look bad, right? So we can't have that, which is why they never get prosecuted anymore. They used to get prosecuted and put in the Tower of London if they upset the Queen or whatever. Usually male knights, or upset the Queen because they sniffed the powder box the wrong way or whatever. But if it's something really, really serious to do with the financial money of the whole reputation, the reputation of the establishment itself, this establishment could be officially recognised as not being legitimate, as being fraudulent, as lying, right? The oath of the Privy Council is that the King can do no wrong. You can't even imagine or contemplate that he'd done any wrong, right? I mean, maybe Alex Phillips should get sworn into the Privy Council, right? And then, let's see how good of a detective he can be when you're not even allowed to think or imagine or conceive of the royal family doing anything bad or wrong, right? Not even allowed to think about it. And I think in a way, that's how the police is set up. Notice that the way the police is set up now, like Phillips, is they don't seem to be able to cognise, to intuit, to see that this terrorism exists, and it exists because no one believes it's there, can see it or suspects it, or they haven't got the capacity to detect it, mainly because they're not suspicious of it, right? And that's the problem. But now we know that, Tony Blair, Blair has set up every single judge in the entire country to break their oath, right? That's like, the New Statesman, Rick Mail, Rimmer from Red Dwarf, a Smeghead. He set up every judge to go against the judicial oath, but by bringing in an act of law, but it's not legal because it's not compatible. So that's incompatibility with a convention right, okay? That you can have that you can do a proper prescribed claim for that for the criminal procedure rules, declaring incompatibility with a convention right. So I'm declaring it now. There's an incompatibility with a convention right there in the law. This is an anarchist. I mean, the only question with Blair is, was he really that stupid, or did he plan it? Did he know that he can't really do it, but he did it anyway? Or is it a bit of both, which is usually the case, which is professional negligence, right? But once these people usually get an honour for their work, right? And then you've got Elizabeth repealing half of Magna Carta when they're still using it to open Parliament with. So there's another major cock-up in the legislation. You know, this is the thing. So you've got literally the reputation of the establishment. Now, many citizens don't like the establishment and don't like the way things have been run, which is why you get protest groups. And luckily for us, why we've got a right that enables us to even challenge it. You're actually allowed to complain. Otherwise you used to end up with your ears cut off and stuck in prison because you weren't even allowed to challenge it. You were, but the monarch could have you prosecuted. You could actually challenge it at the 100 level because your peers signed and consented to complain, but the king could have you prosecuted at a higher level. So, we've got anarchists. Now, the problem is that the system which they've designed and constructed, certain people are making a hell of a lot of money out of it, and they've got a lot of power because everyone's working all day, fastened to the workbench all day. They've got it running like clockwork how they want. And that's what this is all about, really. It's about who gets all the money and who has all the power and who designs and makes all the technology and who can even, that according to the law, all those people are within the law. So it's no good sending the police against them. There's no place for Alex Phillips because he's a policeman. He's a detective. He worked to enforce the law. And these people have designed the system so they're not breaking the law. And then, you get to the level of, the Privy Council where they're not even allowed, even if it doesn't matter whether it's illegal or not, because, even morally, you can see nothing they're doing is wrong. They can do no wrong, nothing. You're not even allowed to comprehend it, right? By oath, that's like a magic spell. So, Phillips is a lost cause because the problem is when you get into politics and political rights, the right to petition, which is way, way, way beyond Sir Mark Rowley. It's beyond Alex Phillips because we've now left crime. We've left the rule book. We're not engaging in civilian life by a rule book anymore. We're actually redefining the rules. We're now actually onto we're wanting to change the rule book. We're complaining about the rule book. Some people are benefiting, and actually it's caused a lot of the crime. In fact, the rule book is defining what crime is, right? The policeman is there for the rule book, right? But we're going beyond the policeman because the rule book is unfair. And we want to change the rule book. And some people don't want the rule book changed. And those are the people who are benefiting from the rules at the moment, the ones who've got the monopoly on the rules. And this is the problem. And the police, right? When the police don't play by the rule book, remember, the police have got to enforce the rule book, but they've got to enforce it. They've got rules, right? Now, the problem is, if the police don't follow the rules, then we've got more anarchy then. And this is when the police don't like the fact that when the police don't follow the rule book, they forfeit a lot of their powers, because we have to be the police then. When the police aren't playing by the rule book, then the public have to. We've effectively, we're not playing by the rule book anymore, right? So if the police don't want to play by the rule book, they don't want to enforce the Public Meeting Act. If they don't want to, if the police refuse to see or can't see that someone is, so something not right, that there's incidents happening, it's not coincidence, there's a motive, and the actual motive is actually the existence and the writing of the rule book. That's the thing. Because if the public completely, totally get the rules rewritten in their favour, then the other party will not be benefiting anymore, and they've got a hell of a lot of money at stake and a hell of a lot of everything they've got, the whole control and power over it all. That's the thing. So it is about the rule book in a way, but they're very, very, very clever, because they've been the ones who have really been having the monopoly over the rule book. The police have got a monopoly over enforcing the rule book, but these other people have had a monopoly over writing the rules. And in a way, they've actually been making the rule book contradict itself, and not wrong. The problem is that the thing with, if you get every single judge to break the law, right, so they're all criminals, now they can either, they're all fucked. They're fucked. They're fucked. They're completely and totally fucked, right? Because they're all criminals now. So what you've got is Tony Blair has designed it to make all the judges into criminals, right? Now, they've only got two options. Either they can carry on, right, and ignore it, which means they're not playing by the rules anymore, and they've got to keep the con going, keep the ignorance going, or they're fucked, or they can confess, right, which means they're all screwed, right? That's the model for anarchy. Now, the problem with the police is, like with the police lasers, you get every single police officer who serves to, have a bit of a dabble with a speed gun, get some speeding drivers, so they've all got the fingerprints on the police gun, see what they can get out of it, and, get some illegal road signs up. Then they're all fucked. They've all broken the law, because they're enforcing the speed limit with illegal road signage, which is criminal, right? So what you do is, all your team, right, they're all criminals, because someone set them up they're enforcing the law and making the public comply with the law when they're not following the law themselves, right? But, police have got certain rules where they can do things that other citizens can't, but only under certain circumstances. But these other things, they're committing fraud, that they're lying and they're committing fraud. The anarchy model is that, and then you've got, they're all sworn in on it, because if one of them grasses up the rest of them, then they're all fucked. So what you've got is, it's literally like the Peaky Blinders. You've got a criminal racket, a criminal gang, because they're not operating lawfully. And, then if one of them, grasses up the others, then the whole thing goes. So what they're all doing is they're all complicit. They're all in on it. They're all criminals, like all the judges now. So that's the whole thing's fucked, and that's because of people like Tony Blair, because Tony Blair is an anarchist. He claims that he's in for democracy and the establishment and so forth, but he's an anarchist, and I think that if this is the problem with the Privy Council oath, I mean, if you can't see that your leader ever does anything wrong, and you're not even allowed to think of it or understand that they could be doing anything wrong, then so therefore, look at that. I mean, you know, that in the Shetland Islands, that rocket just blew up. You know, if that rocket launching station was operating on some mathematical model or engineering model that, you know, had some kind of basis around like the Privy Council oath, then, you know, you couldn't detect that it was going to blow up. You know, there's something not right here. Just a minute, there's something wrong. Well, no, you can possibly be wrong. You know, it's like you know, this is Alex Phillips. There's nothing wrong here. There's nothing suspicious. It's just coincidence. You know, I can't see anything wrong with this. You know, there's nothing wrong with the rule book. There's nothing wrong with the law. Tony Blair didn't set up judges to break their oaths. There's nothing wrong. I can't see anything wrong here. You know, well, there must not be anything wrong then. Carry on as you are then, Alex. You know, carry on as the best detective in history. As you were, carry on. This is the thing. It literally is faulty towers when you can't see the fault. This is the thing. It's faulty towers when no one can see what the fault is, right? And that's what it is, because, you know, that it's like they're under some kind of oath to ignore it. It's almost kind of like that's like the elephant in the room, and it's like the elephant in the room, you know. So almost like you know, but this, then you've got these religious aspects as well, like, you know, forgiveness and so forth, which, you know, the you know, people from the Muslim and Islam world don't necessarily have the same, you know, religious system as us, and now they're wanting to put all this legislation through, which is quite, you know, very, very harsh on the general public who are, you know, going about their own opinions. The thing with that Yusuf guy from SNP party leader, that Scottish guy, is that, you know, he's wanting to put all these legislation through where you can't say this, you can't do that, etc., etc. But these are people who aren't hiding what they're doing. These are people who want to openly, freely express what their opinion is. The problem is that these terrorists, these criminals, aren't really wanting people to really know their true motivations or opinions, or at least when they do these stunts, it's to make a point, but also it's power as well, because some people suspect it, and some of these incidents have got a meaning. You know, it means something. Like an Extinction Rebellion action is meant to mean something. It's meant to indicate or make a point. But the power in it is why they're so powerful is because you can't prove that they did it, but you get what you're supposed to know what it means, but you can't prove who did it. You know, because that's the power in the terrorism. That's what makes you terrified, because you don't know where it's coming from. You don't know who's doing it. That's what scares you, not necessarily just that something disastrous happened or horrible happened. The fact that you can't prove who did it, you know, but yet it all seems to be, you know, suspicious. Like, you know, this whole Mike Lynch thing with, you know, people, you know, who could be next? Be scared, you know. See, with Boris Johnson's dad's next door neighbour, be scared, you know. You know, if you don't, you know, comply, then, you know, you could be next. Therefore, be scared, be fearful, you know. Look at Jeffrey Epstein, you know, if you dabble with these circles, you end up, doesn't matter whether you get acquitted or whether doesn't matter whether you get put in prison or whether you get acquitted by a jury, because it will get you anyway. Doesn't matter whether you're Jeffrey Epstein, you know, under maximum security, or whether you are, you know, on a private yacht somewhere, you know, they'll get you anyway, you know. You know, this is how they keep everyone in order, you know. The whole thing with Prince Andrew and that business, you know, when they started getting close to Prince Andrew's business deals, you know, then you started getting, Sarah Ferguson was in the newspapers, and so forth and so forth. And because the newspapers were poking around, who's buying Nestle up, who's buying Cadbury's up, who's buying all these companies up and getting all the shares in them, and why would they want to buy all these companies and take ownership out of them? And it all comes down to the health of people and society and general performance, ability to perform. Detectives. Alex Phillips, ability to perform, as police and so forth. I really don't know what Matt Rowley's problem is with these protesters because, it's they're jumping around in front of him saying, we object. You don't get mastermind criminals jumping up and down in front of, Matt Rowley saying we object. They're trying to hide themselves from Matt Rowley, not be detected. That's the point. These protesters are the least of your worries. At least they're honest. At least they stand behind their cause or whatever and admit it. This is the thing. Can you catch these terrorists? Can you prove them? Well, for a start, it would be something if the police who are acting under legislation and the rule book could actually call out when the rule book's been written to be in contradiction with itself or incompatibility with convention rights and so forth. And who did that? Well, Tony Blair. But we can't get him because then it dishonours the whole honour system. And then it makes Sir Matt Rowley look bad because he's a Knight of the Realm as well. And, even Tony Blair is a Knight of the Realm. And Tony Blair's now out. He's a statesman. He's, plotting the future of planet Earth. He's above plotting the future of England now. It's not anarchy in the UK anymore. It's anarchy in global. It's global anarchy. Tony Blair's been promoted he's been honoured for creating anarchy in the UK, and now Tony Blair's on global anarchy. We've got Pierce Brosnan and Sean Connery saying that world domination, same old thing. Supposedly, we're meant to be going after these anarchists or whatever, but it turns out that there are decorated, honoured citizens. They are the anarchists, and we can see no wrong. They can do no wrong. This is a problem, and when you Mike Lynch, these big tech gurus, Elon Musk, you're getting into the people who are designing and making the technologies that might or could have a capacity of disclosing these things, but they don't want it to be disclosed. It's like the military; it's top secret. This is where Julian Assange comes into it, because effectively people like Assange and also the news when they were sniffing around Sarah Ferguson, whatever, Phillips business circles and so forth. You see, Assange, when people like that can disclose these things, but what you want is these people don't want them disclosed, so they set people like Assange up, throw him little pieces, or like fishing bait, like now you can get eels, fishing tackle bait, throw some fishing tackle bait at Assange, which he's likely to bite on, and then stick him in prison for X amount of time, to make an example out of him. That video footage was completely totally set up. It's probably about as legitimate as that video footage of that yacht, that CCTV footage of that yacht. Probably was uploaded by Bluetooth somewhere and recorded over. The whole Assange thing further is terrorism. It's to scare the media, to scare all of the people who actually might be able to find something useful out. There's nothing in the military, right? There's absolutely anything that's top secret, right, stays top secret, because that Assange thing was meat scraps chucked out to be picked up on purpose. It was fishing bait, and he fell for it, and he went for it, and they illegally detained Assange to make an example that they don't play by the rule book. This is the thing, like Tony Blair. These people who make the rule book don't play by the rule book, but they actually forfeit their rights. And then when we try and do something about it and using our rights, and the police are wanting to lock us all up because the police have been set up for anarchy as well. That's a problem. The real military secrets, which the people like Assange aren't pass the information. They aren't conveniently pass the information. Like how that yacht was, taken out, or how the CCTV footage was, changed and wiped, or what happened to Epstein and so forth. The real top secret stuff is still top secret because these people are they're not. We can't catch them because Alex Phillips refuses to accept they exist, which, he might as well, get sworn into the Privy Council, give him some honours, I think Alex Phillips should be in the Privy Council, like Keir Starmer, he clearly, it is, he doesn't believe, he can't see no wrong, this is the thing, like Tony Blair. I don't know, Tony Blair's not done anything wrong. Well, that's funny because I thought he set up every single judge to break their oath. This is the thing. It's like anarchy. And then there's the whole music industry as well. They even used to pick music artists out which amuse them. That they're jesters, they're muses. And stick them in the charts. But now there's a lot more people doing it. It's well, you've still got the mainstream. They still are controlling music really because, this is the thing with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. might as well be some music artist trying to get in the charts, but they're just, he's not. He can't even get into the presidential election. Never mind the music charts. I mean, you have to be. I'm not saying that there aren't any talent, that all musicians aren't talented, or that there aren't any talented musicians, but it always seems to be, certain muses that seem to fit the agenda. Like Tom Jones with his, burning down the house with his crossbow bolts into the building. You might as well have crossbow bolts in that yacht, and Sicily, whatever. I mean, that's it, nothing to see here, no visible means of support, and you ain't seen nothing yet. That's why I draw highlight to that song, because that's how they play it. And if you can get Tom Jones into a recording studio and get those ideas filled into the video to have the honoured, decorated Knight of the Realm freaking singing the damn song, it's like Matt Rowley. What else do you want? You've got Extinction Rebellion sat on the pavement outside fucking New Scotland Yard, dressed as fish, saying, dinner is served. Then you got Sir Tom Jones, burning down the house. Stick me in a yacht with crossbow bottles in. You blow me away. This is the thing, no visible means of support, and you ain't seen nothing yet, you might as well have Mike Lynch singing it, no visible means of support, you ain't seen nothing yet. That's Jeffrey Epstein, isn't it? This is the thing, Phillips is not equipped. It's not equipped for purpose. This is the thing, and whenever we get in to the edge, when we're getting anywhere near the truth, is when these incidents start happening. The incidents are happening because people are on the trail. People are getting close to it, and the terrorists are striking back. This is the thing, and the closer you get to them, the more suspicious you get, and when you actually start looking for them, then you get these incidents triggered off because they are they're not happy about it. You know, they're not happy about us when we claim our rights and privileges, because then we get a chance of getting the rule book changed, and they don't want that. You know, this is the thing.